Imagine you've spent months of your life crafting the best speech you can ever craft. And now it's time to fly to Cincinnati and deliver it in front of 500 people. I was sitting in my home. I put everything in that bag, put my headphones, listening to my speech. And that's a great tool, by the way. Record your speeches and listen to them over and over and over. Helps you to internalize it. And I'm listening to my speech. In June of 2005, I arrived in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Blah, 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 blah. I get in the subway, I get in the blue line, I'm getting to the airport, I'm getting to my gate, and I'm constantly listening to my speech, right? And then the plane is about to take off. I'm looking at my clock. Okay, we have 5 to 7 minutes to boarding. And I scanned, and I saw people at the gate sitting, unsuspecting that there is a Toastmaster getting ready for a contest. And I said, Madam Flight Master, fellow passengers, in June of 2005, I arrived in St. Cloud, Minnesota. People surprised, some people like that, complete eye contact. Other people are doing like that. Unbelievable experience. If you have any tension or if you have something, it completely releases you. Then back in the plane, again, blah, 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 listening to my speech, preparing. Remember guys, it's about getting in the zone, it's about practice. That's how you give a good speech. Getting to know the speech, getting to internalize it. We landed in Cincinnati, and the taxi driver, of course, I got a taxi. I cannot wait to go to my hotel room and really practice with the gestures, maybe in front of the mirror, polish the facial expressions. And I asked the taxi driver how long will it take to the hotel, and he said, about 5 to 7 minutes. I said, perfect. I sit in the back seat, and he asked me the question, so why are you here in Cincinnati? I said, in June of 2005, I arrived in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And again, I can see and hear where he laughs. He chuckled a few times on my punchline, so I could see and measure. Now, he laughed really hard at some of the big ones. I had a line when, I'm going to give it to you. I had the line that I arrived to sell children's books door to door. It's a tough job, but I thought I have everything I need to succeed. Persistence, passion, and a sexy accent. And he cracked up. So I said, okay, that will get good reaction. That will get good reaction. To the very last minute, we became friends, exchanged cards. He said, good luck. And I got in the hotel room, and I'm like, I want to go and see where the contest room is. Really important. If you have a contest, go and see ahead of time to make sure that you're comfortable. I went there, I stood at that place, and I visualized and imagined 800 people in front of me. It's very important to just take that picture, that mental picture, so that next time when you're at home or in a room practicing, at least visualize people in front of you. Don't just practice without this image of audience in front of you. And of course I measured the stage, which is really important, because I want to know how many feet the stage was up to here, so that when I go to my hotel room, I know exactly where to move, because this is the exactly same staging that I'm going to be doing. And I rehearsed for the next day. I was just rehearsing till Thursday evening. Tim was in the audience, by the way. Tim was a representative from Extreme Masters. And I would like to ask you a question. What differences did you notice between my district speech and between my semi-final speech? Since I gave the same speech, were there any noticeable differences that you noticed?
Yeah, the biggest difference I noticed is a lot more clear what the point was about hope. Before, hope was silent. Is hope silent? Is that the point? Whatever. So you lost hope. You made that really clear in the point. I think that was great.
Very good. Yeah, always, that's the most powerful thing in contests. Clear message. Good story and clear message are unbeatable combinations. We saw so many speeches with great story, right? Very entertaining story. But the point was muddy. It wasn't really clear. And we had some great speeches with a crystal clear point with no story, just preaching, right? People just drilling the point home and not allowing the audience to emotionally experience the point, as Lance Miller said. And last year I learned something interesting from him, is that once you find your message, the story will align around it. It really helped me a lot, because once you know what your point is, then you know what parts of the story support that point, what points to emphasize, what points to de-emphasize, and breeze on. So that really helped me a lot. And that was one of the reasons for success, just practicing, visualizing, listening to your speech, imagining people, putting the effort. And of course I spent, like I said, 5-6 months going around different clubs, testing, getting feedback. So it's a collective effort, it's not just me, it's the entire district that helped. So it's the big game now. We've passed the semifinals, I go to the international, and I went there to measure the stage. So I went there and I measured the stage. And I'm like, okay, now should I change my hotel room? What should I do? And then I realized that it's impossible. It's possible to use the entire stage, but for my speech, I would lose if I decide to use the entire stage. So I decided to use the exactly same distance that I used for my semifinal speech. And I also used the depth of the stage. Not just the sides, but the depth. That's another interesting thing. Most of the contestants didn't use the depth. They were using the left, the right, they were doing every staging right, but they forget that there is a space behind that can be used. So I'm pumped up. I called one of my friends here from the district, Conor Kanin. He's an accredited speaker. He has been at the semifinals before, to just listen to my speech the night before. And he laid in the bed. I'm here delivering my speech. He's giving me artificial laughs where he thinks that there will be punchlines. Of course, I need to pause. And when you have a big audience, the bigger the audience, the bigger the laughs. And the bigger the audience, the shorter the speech. So I have crafted my speech for the final to be at 490 words. That's it, 490 words. But you need to deliver every single word with passion, with emotion, with drive, with facial expressions, with reactions, with gestures, everything that we study here at Extreme. And he listened to my speech and he said, "Press, that's a great story, great speech. Just the ending is weak." And I'm like, tomorrow I gotta give that speech. My ending is weak. You know what? Forget about sleeping this night. And I already haven't slept one night. I'm not gonna sleep the night before the contest. You're getting tired, but that really helped me. Because I discovered, just before the contest, when I met the other contestants, that none of them slept. Every single one of them was crafting and polishing and rehearsing and really focusing on that speech. That's the biggest moment in the life of a Toastmaster that you can believe it. It's being at that big stage. So every one of them was spending time to the very last minute. And I'm rehearsing at 3 o'clock in the morning. At 3 o'clock in the morning, and at one point I had a prop, by the way. I had a 3x5 card in my shirt pocket here. It was a 3x5 card, and at one point, because I'm changing the tie, I go up and down, up and down. And at one point I saw in the mirror that part of that card was sticking out. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Tomorrow there'll be 1,600 people in the audience, big screens. You know about props. If the prop must disappear when it's not needed and appear only when it's needed and disappear again. If they see the prop before you have to use it, then you're gone, you're dead. And I started looking for scissors in the hotel room. I quickly discovered that hotel rooms don't come occupied with scissors. There is no scissors in the hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I called the receptionist. Ma'am, it's room 1711. Do you have the scissors? Oh, you do? Great. I'll be right there. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, before the finals, I'm going down to the receptionist. A woman with black hair sitting in front of me. She says, "Yeah, I'll be right back." So she went behind. And there were like 2, 5, 10 minutes. She's gone. And then she comes and says, "I couldn't find the scissors. But I found this." And she showed me a giant paper cutter that can cut your hand. And we tried to cut that 3x5 card, but it didn't work. So she had to go find a manager to come and fix the machine so that I can cut my 3x5 card. Eventually we managed to fix that, and it was a little bit like a normal business card. And you would think that a normal human being would just go and pick up a random card from somewhere, right? But when you haven't slept for 2 days, your brain is not functioning. You are not there mentally. You are only about the speech. You are only about the contest. And that taught me a valuable lesson, though. That is the little things. It's the little things, the details that separate one contestant from another. It's this level of precision and detail that can help you tremendously in your speeches. The little things can make a big difference. So everything went smooth the next day. And here we are. I'm the backstage, 8 other contestants, everybody's praying, everybody's rehearsing. By the way, behind that big screen, there is a sea of people ready to hear your speech. And in the back, you can also see these big screens, not just in the front, but in the back. So I'm there, sitting and listening to the previous speakers and telling myself, he's better than me, she's better than me, he's better than me. And you have to have these doubts coming and creeping on you. And you start doubting your speech. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go there and tell all these people a flat tire story. And I just heard about dead relatives and deep personal experiences, and I'm about to go there and tell about flat tire. And I'm push pause here to that story. The previous year, it was that very same speech that I competed in the contest, and I took 2nd place in district. And at that time I was wondering, why is this happening? Why didn't I win? Why didn't I go forward? Everything happens for a reason. If I won with that speech last year, I wouldn't have a 2nd speech to give. And in that contest, you have 1 speech for the semi-final, and you need completely different speech for the final. I wouldn't have any speech to give. So now I understood why I took 2nd place. The speech was not ready yet. It had a lot of humor. Was dynamic, but the message was not clear. And we taught that a beautiful speech, a winning speech, is a beautiful story, well crafted humorously with all the emotions, and a crystal clear message. So it takes 1 year to recraft that speech, which taught me another lesson. Never give up on a speech. Never give up on a speech. Every speech can be a world-class speech. It's about how much you put into it, how much feedback you receive, how willing you are to stay with that speech. And I stayed with it, and by the way, for these last 3 months, people try to dissuade me and tell me there is no heart in that speech. Not good, not good, no. I spent a month and a half before the contest trying to come up with a different speech, which I could have easily used to work on that speech. But then something from within, they always listen to your intuition. Something from within, as if the story wanted to tell itself. As if my intuition was telling me, tell that speech, tell that story, people need to hear that message. And I followed my intuition, went with that speech, and it turned out to be a very different speech from all the previous speeches, which made it stand out, and eventually I was successful. But before I go up there, I was at that run. They were about to announce my name, and my mouth got dry. And I went to the other side, and you know how big that stage is, to where all the rooms are, and we started looking for bottles. There were no bottles, and I wanted just 1 sip of water. Can make a big difference. When your mouth is dry and you're about to speak in front of all these people. And finally, in one room, everybody scrambled, all the contestants behind stage tried to help me, and we found 1 bottle, and I got that magic drink. And all of them were very supportive. I discovered that Toastmasters is this very same thing behind that big stage. All of us were like family in the back. All of us were encouraging each other. You can do it. It's time to tell your story. Go and have fun. So everything that happens here, all this encouraging environment, happens even at the contest and an international. It's such a beautiful organization. And these people are so close to me, so dear to me now. I have business cards, I have networking. So if you ever ask yourself, why would I put myself under all this stress, undertaking the journey of winning an international speech contest, remember that. You're going to learn so many lessons. You're going to meet so wonderful people. And finally, you never know what you can do for other people. You never know who's in the audience, what message you can tell them that can change their life. Because after that contest, there was a line of 200 people waiting to take a picture of me and shake my hand. I've never smiled in my life so much. It was like a conveyor line, and there was even a facilitator. Okay, next, 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 and I'm just here with the trophy going. But it's tremendous experience. People from around the world coming and shaking your hand and saying, "Great message. That's what I wanted to hear. I want to try it." It was tremendously fulfilling experience. And the contest is not just about winning. It's not about competing. It's about what message are you going to give to these people. So once you are ready and start crafting your speech, think, what's the biggest lesson I've learned? What's something practical, beautiful I can give these people so they can remember a few years down the line. And the story and all the drama and all the humor is just to help the retention of that message, just to help that message stick in their mind, because they'll remember the crazy things that you do. And by remembering them, they'll remember your point in your message. Overall, it's been a great journey, and I credit this club for helping me over the last 3.5 years. You've been very supportive, all of you have been mentors to me. Every one of you have helped me in some way and given me encouraging feedback. Do we have any questions? I think we have 5 minutes before the meeting is over. Any questions that you're interested in, maybe curious? Yeah, John.
Did you practice the first speech you gave for the semifinals about selling the books that I heard here?
Yeah.
Didn't you practice that to make sure you got into the finals, or you kind of felt? I mean, how did you split the two?
To be honest with you, I spent a lot more time on the semi-final speech. Because, and that's what everybody does, everybody would go with their best speech for the semi-final. Because if you attended the semi-final, you know how hard that semi-final is. You know that you can attest. All 10 speakers were great. And we got a standing ovation. I've never seen that at the semi-final. And the audience stood at the end and gave us clap. But yeah, always go, of course, with your strongest speech for the semi-final, because that guarantees you placing in the final. And it's really important to have a second speech. That's why I love the fact that I didn't win last year, so I could use a relatively good story to support with the crystallized message. But that's a great question. Yes, you always go with the best speech for the semifinal. Any other question? Yes, baby.
I saw a part of your speech. So
which one?
The one that you won, the final.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just a portion of it. And what I found so interesting is the Toastmaster. You were actually engaging him. So, you were giving your speech and weren't you speaking to him too? Like, was he asking you anything?
Well, I believe this was the interview session, because in that video, what they did is they only gave the hook of my speech, the intro,
yeah.
Then they gave a portion of the interview,
I see.
And then they gave the award, and then they gave the acceptance speech.
Because it kind of seemed like he was talking to you while you were giving your
Correct.
speech, but that was not true, right? No? Okay.
But yeah, that's a great question. Any other question? Yes?
Is the video available of the actual speech?
I've ordered it. Believe it or not, even the contestants has to show me the money and buy it. But of course, I bought it, and I bought one copy to send to my parents.
But didn't they fly you out there to compete?
Yes, by the way, they fly. If you win the district contest, they flew me. Not, they didn't just fly me; they flew me first class.
But then they make you pay for your own CD for the speech.
That's good.
Yeah, it even sounds. But it's interesting, and it's good that they put me at first class, because that way I was isolated from the audience. That I've already given my speech to in the It was a good fit there. Maybe they knew that would happen. And that's why I said maybe there was a history of such misdemeanors.
Right.
Yes.
So do you think that we could watch it at one of our meetings?
Of course.
Yeah, that'd be
I'm gonna
great.
bring the entire contest. We will have
Fun.
maybe at the press day, whatever you guys call it.
Yeah.
We may watch the entire final. You've seen
Yeah,
it.
I think that'd be
I
great.
haven't seen it.
And bring the trophy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, by the way, it's all about the trophy, because when people want to take a picture of me, I try to hide my trophy behind them. And they're like, come on, man, take out the trophy. They're not about me. They're not about me. They're about the trophy. No, but it was a tremendously enjoyable experience. And if you can attend the convention, there are so many other things going on in addition to the contests. Educational sessions.
Oh, sorry, there's a flag.
Maybe fly.
So wait, how many contestants were there in the semifinal?
10,
10. So there was 10 and then 8.
9. 10 and 9.
But I'm confused. confused then.
Me too.
Nine semifinals.
Well, how many different, I thought, how many different semifinals are? 'Cause-
9.
So there's not, that's where I kind of.
There's one winner who goes to the final.
9
So they-
semifinals, and there are 3 done simultaneously.
There are
there
three.
are
So there are 3
total-
going at the same time in 3 different rooms.
Oh, that's right.
So you
Not
can,
simultaneously happening.
correct. So you can only watch 3
How
semifinals.
do they group, depending on where you're from?
Random.
Or lottery?
Right.
They're randomly.
Very random.
I had a person from Sri Lanka
Oh.
in my group. Most of them was from America, but I had a guy from Sri Lanka, and that's pretty much the internationals.
What number were you in the order, and where would you prefer to be in the order?
I discovered that the number is rare if you have a great speech. District I was first, semi-final I was 4th, final I was 9.
You were last.
Yeah, you were the toughest slot.
So in a way, if you have a good speech, it's not about the space. I wouldn't think about that. That's not the real game. The real game is how much time have you spent crafting that story? How much time have you rehearsed it? How much feedback? How many times have you gone around the district to give it to fresh audiences? How much do you know your speech? That's the name of the game. And how much heart you have put, and what's the message for the audience? Because there is also the catch of finding a universal truth. That's as true for you as for somebody from Africa, from somebody from India, somebody from China. That everybody can relate with, no matter what part of the world you are. Universal truth delivered or discovered through your own personal experience. That's the beauty of the personal story. We connect with personal stories. It's fantastic. David Brooks is coming, by the way, on Saturday. There will be an event. You probably advertised it already. But I'm going to go and attend his session. And he says that we connect with people. We may have different stories, but we share the same emotions. That's where we connect, on the emotional level. And plus, it's always interesting to hear personal story because it's different. It's different. Chances are they've read probably the book of Chicken Soup for the Soul and all the other books that people try to take stories. But the real winners, the people who are really successful in this contest, they realize that the best stories are your own. Because you've lived it and you're reliving it, and you bring the emotion to a different level. I was just reliving the experience. I was trying to channel the same emotions that I felt during the anxiety, the anger, the happiness, the relief, the embarrassment. The more emotions you throw in that story, the better, because you want to pass the audience through as wide of an emotional roller coaster as you can. And I've discovered something else. You need variety. You cannot have only funny here and then deep philosophical. You want to have funny, deep, philosophical, funny, deep, and in a way you create that roller coaster and you create that balance. And the same is with everything, with content. You may have one narration line and one dialogue line and one you focus question. Also spice those things and vary them. And it's great because laboratories like here help us discover these elements, and then we can apply them to our own personal stories. Yeah,
That's a question.
he's the
all
best
these-
student in the room. Asks a lot of questions.
No, you have all these different countries, yet I assume all the speeches are in English. Yet how does it work that people from other countries, where I assume a lot of times their Toastmaster things are in other languages, when do they switch over, or about all that stuff?
It's just the English is the standard language for the international. There are other clubs for international who speak different languages, but for that contest you need English. And having an accent is not that bad, because it forces the audience. They know that you have a good speech. They know that you're a good speaker. They know you wouldn't have made it to the final if you were not. And they really want to hear what you have to say. So when they hear a little bit of an accent, there's always this extra strain from the audience, where they strain to hear your message. The interesting thing was that I was giving originally my introduction really fast, because I start with a really gripping moment of where my steering wheel jerks and I try to keep the car in control. Realistically, hi there, stranger. If I was giving that speech, and then my English was perfect, natural, without this accent, I would give it fast, right? Because it matches the emotion and the intensity of the scene. But since I had an accent, I had to slow down a bit so that people can absorb it. And here's the other thing. When you have an accent, you need to start slow in the beginning so that the audience can adjust to your accent. I had the recommendations to start with Mr. Cortes chair Toastmasters guests. Why? Because everybody knows that line, right? And you can use it to adapt your song. But then I wanted to create this hook, so I decided to start slow. But that's a great question. Accent can hurt you, but it can help you a lot too. Do you have any questions based on what you saw for the last 10, 20 minutes?
What I saw on the video online was that you did a fantastic job.
You haven't seen the entire speech, but by the way, you missed that. We will show it here. I ordered the DVD and we watched the entire contest,
Awesome.
so that you can see the other contestants because they were also exceptional. Everybody has put some effort. I respect everybody in the contest. It's been phenomenal. It's 8:20. I think that if you don't have any other questions, we can wrap it up. And once again, I thank you all for everything you've ever done for me. Don't hesitate to come to me with questions. I know you'll be working.
Are you going to charge now?
Well,
Not actor.
just enough to pay for the DVD.
That was $11.
That was $11.
Yeah, I'll give you the receipt and the invoice at the end. But thank you so much for. If you have any further questions, always approach me. I'm very approachable, and I look forward to learn and grow with you even further.